your eyes. The album is naked, but that doesn't mean I'ma open my thighs. Bitches are whispering, please do not think I don't notice you guys. This industry shit got the homies and I always faking a smile. Been in the club with the squad.
Hi guys, welcome back to Art and Architecture by Njuguna. So today we are going to learn about different rendering techniques, and rendering enables us to bring out more realistic pieces by adding texture to them and also showing the fall of light on surfaces, and in that process they end up becoming realistic. So the four common types of rendering are hatching, cross hatching, stippling, which can also be pointilism, and also tonal type of rendering. So remember that rendering also becomes one of the best ways to bring out forms. Like you don't have to add a definite line that could show the edge of a certain object. So in place of adding a line, you could use rendering in that case, and it will help you achieve a more realistic piece. So let us start with stippling. So stippling is the use of tiny dots, rounded dots, that will help you differentiate between a dark and a light area, a place hit by light and its shadow. So this is how you can do it. Remember, you might not I have drawn some simple circles, but they are not as visible because, as I've said, I want to produce the circle into a sphere, but only by the use of rendering. I don't want my lines that are circular in nature to be the ones to guide me. I want the rendering bit of it to bring out the spherical object that I want to add some rendering to. So let's get on with it. Yes, you've noted the dark region of our sphere also brings out a very dark region of the shadow. So they are very close together. And as you have also seen, the way I've placed the dots, it's very time consuming, but it brings out very nice pieces when you try to use it. But it requires a lot of patience, but also being so precise with where you want your light to fall on, and also where your shadows are going to be. So as you have seen, there are places where we have very many dots clutched together, and they represent the areas where there is more darkness, and the place where the dots are more apart from each other represents the region where light has hit the object. So it has turned from a simple circle to a sphere just by the use of rendering, and stippling is one of the ways of rendering, though very time consuming, but it can bring out very good pieces if you're patient with it. So our next rendering technique will be tonal, where we use simple, I wouldn't call them strokes, it's more of like smudging onto that part where you want to have a dark region or also want to show light, but it's more smudging. So let me show you how it is done. So now that is how tonal, the kind of tonal rendering is done, where you find you smudge around the surface that you want to bring this kind of value. So this happens to be the dark region, and this happens to be the shadow of this sphere of ours. So this where much light comes, and this where the dark area is. So this happens to be one of the commonly used rendering techniques, more so when an artist wants to bring out realistic or hyper-realistic pieces. So they prefer tonal because for them they want to produce an exact piece. So we'll move over to hatching first. We use simple line strokes to show a dark region or also a light region. So this is how it's done. So as you've seen, I've only used single line strokes to produce a rendering, to produce a shaded effect. So I've only used single strokes to show where there is much darkness, the lower region of our object or sphere, and also on the shadow of the shadow of the sphere, and also around, but it's lightly done, not so much. Don't press your pencil or charcoal pencil so hard, so it's done so lightly, but on the darker region, that's where you get to apply a bit of pressure so that it can be more defined. And now we'll go to cross hatching. Cross hatching, instead of using single line strokes, we'll make them crisscross each other. That's why it's called cross hatching. So let me show you how it's done. So if you've seen, I've used crisscrossing lines, and it's obvious the darker region, the place I've pressed my pen it happens to be the dark region, but the place I've used it a little bit lightly happens to be the light region, where the light gets to fall on it. And as you've noticed, as I told you before, I only had circles that were not legible enough, and they were guidance to how I was supposed to bring out the sphere. But by use of rendering, you can see there is some spherical object that is coming out. So as I had told you, rendering helps you to bring out an object way better than having to put a definite line around an object. So it helps it become more realistic when you don't have a definite line around it. But when you allow rendering to do that kind of job, it will help you achieve a more realistic kind of object. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Please subscribe, comment, and also like, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
City.